People are going to let James Harden off the hook. It's Donovan Mitchell's team, but this was so predictable. When Harden got to the Cavs, it was amazing. Immediate chemistry with Spida and the pick and roll with Jared Allen, Cavs offense looked unstoppable. So Cavs fans were like, I told you James Harden's amazing, but obviously he's a regular season all-star. The playoffs are what really counts, and he did it again. Regular season good, worse in the important games, but when it mattered most, the Cavs 2 Game 7s this year. Basically a role player. But we knew that about Harden. The real disappointment is Donovan Mitchell. Man made his first conference finals, but played way below his standard. So the decision now is this. Does he extend in Cleveland to run it back with this team, or does he force the Cavs to trade him? Because that's a possibility. Hearing rumors already about what teams plan to make a run at Spida this offseason. But credit the Knicks, who will make their first finals since 1999, where they were gentlemen swept by the Spurs, by the way. And Tim Duncan winning his first championship to start a dynasty, by the way. Just saying. But nobody underestimate New York, okay? They are peaking at the exact right time with veteran players who've spent years in big moments. In fact, not only did they dominate the Cavs through 3 games so far, Knicks have been scary good the last 10 games. You might remember that Hawks Game 3 where CJ McCollum hit the game winner. That was fun. But since then, they have gone 10-0 with an average margin of victory at 22 points. Beating down teams with just 2 close games in the last 10. So if you underestimate New York, just know that is what either banged up OKC or San Antonio is running into.
But the playoffs have been amazing. The only way I know to make these games even more fun is by getting my picks in on Prize Picks. Winning cash is a bonus for me, but I have a little more fun every single night guaranteed with Prize Picks. I love how easy the app is to use. I just pick more or less on a few players' stats, and I've got my picks in. So, only 1 game on, but my 2 picks for tonight.
First up, James Harden. We're going to go less on his field goal attempts. And then Josh Hart, less on his 3-point attempts.
And best of luck if you're tailing those picks. Prize Picks is available in all these states. And if you've never signed up, nothing helps out the channel more than on your first sign up using code AM Hoops. It also helps you out. When you play just $5, you get $50 in lineups, win or lose.
But the Cavs are the exact opposite. Yes, they made a conference finals, but I have a profile of a team that's gotten lucky. Now I know that's harsh, but just look at the numbers. Entering Game 4, they had a losing record in the playoffs. Their average score was 109 to 108, winning games by the skin of their teeth, and it took 2 Game 7s and 3 overtimes. So, okay, forget luck. Here's what we can say for sure. Cleveland beat teams they were supposed to beat. Barely, but crumbled once they faced an experienced veteran opponent. So what happens next? Well, they can either run it back or make big changes. And Cleveland would be crazy to run it back after what we just showed. But the good news, big changes are rumored everywhere. Let's get this out of the way. A report says that Giannis was already offered to Cleveland at the deadline. From Jake Fisher, Cavs spoke with Bucks about Giannis before the deadline. We're told it would take Evan Mobley and all of Cleveland's available draft capital to get it done, but the Cavs said no. But did you see Evan Mobley these playoffs? The kid is getting paid like the next Giannis, but not playing like it. The reason is last year, he not only won Defensive Player of the Year and an All-Star, but he got votes for MVP, was All-NBA and All-Defense. This year, nothing. The Defensive Player of the Year didn't even make an all-defense team this season. How is that possible? So he balled out just in time for a Supermax and has not lived up to that, which can seriously hurt a team in the second apron era. You give out bad contracts like that. Now, reports say they don't want to swap Mobley for Giannis. Okay. The other big name, though, is LeBron James. And over at Poly Market, Cavs a strong second place for LeBron's next team, in part because he liked to post about going home this summer. But a big problem is how expensive the Cavs are. They're the most expensive team in NBA history, which means for Bron to go there on anything but a minimum, they'd have to cut salary first, like dumping a Jared Allen or James Harden to a team like cap space, like the Bulls or the Nets. So if they can't do that, what happens with Donovan Mitchell? Because his situation is about to be a main topic in the NBA. The man has 1 more guaranteed year on his contract, can sign an extension, but the moment he doesn't do that, the Cavs have to listen to trades because they paid so much to get him back in 2022. They sent out 5 first-round picks, 2 pick swaps, and 3 rotation guys for Spida. So you can't lose him for nothing. And yes, Spida likes the Cavaliers. I believe him when he says that. But you know deep down, he is jealous of Jalen Brunson. I feel bad. Donovan is from New York. Knicks almost had him in 2022 before the Cavs went all in. And you know, sees how much Knicks fans love Jalen Brunson, how much success the Knicks are having with Jalen, and he thinks that should be me. Would probably secretly give anything to swap places with Jalen Brunson right now. So you know, losing to the Knicks before this big offseason kind of matters. And what have the Cavs done? Gotten desperate. I'm sorry, any team that trades a 26-year-old all-star Darius Garland for James Harden is desperate. Could you see the Thunder front office doing that? Or the Celtics, or any respectable team that believes in themselves? Oh, and by the way, they seem to have made a handshake deal to extend James Harden for multiple seasons. Brian Windhorst said that Harden has a player option, but he signed off on Cleveland in the Clippers deal because the Cavs basically agreed on a long-term deal this summer. I'm sorry, if Donovan Mitchell just got to see close up firsthand the James Harden experience in the playoffs, yes, he takes pressure off as a playmaker, but do you want the rest of your prime, if you're Spida, tied to James Harden? Really? At the very least, you'd say that's a bad omen for your chances of winning a ring. And it turns out that is all Mitchell cares about at this point. The Athletic said Mitchell has reached a point in his career where he's obsessed with winning. He's made his money. He's made enough all-star teams, all-NBA teams, that the only thing left to do is win. Are the Cavs the place for that? If not, several teams are ready for a trade. First is the Rockets. Tim McMahon said, if Donovan Mitchell is available, that is a guy I could see the Rockets being aggressive to go get. I would be surprised, actually, if they were aggressive to go get Giannis. So Spida, according to ESPN, more likely than Giannis in Houston. And that makes sense because the Rockets need the offense that Mitchell provides at his best. The Rockets whiffed on multiple picks in their rebuild, so now they got to trade their way out of it. First, they took Jalen Green over Evan Mobley, which was a mistake even if Mobley's not a number 1 after all. Took Reed Shepherd over Stephon Castle, who's becoming a star in these playoffs. So Houston can offer control of 4 Rocket picks. They also have 4 picks from other teams and young talent like Alperen Sengun and Reed Shepherd. There's a trade there. Our next team is the LA Lakers, and anyone would prefer Donovan Mitchell over Austin Reeves next to Luka Doncic, right? And we know LA plans on making a serious move this summer. Giannis is their dream, but not realistic. In fact, the Athletic said in 2024, the most likely star for LA to pursue was Donovan Mitchell before he signed an extension in Cleveland. So the Lakers' assets include control of 6 of their own picks on draft night and Austin Reeves on a sign and trade. Not the best offer, but a strong fit, right? Spida would be best as a number 2 on a contender. So with Luka on the roster, it takes a lot of pressure off. But the third team is the Miami Heat. We know that they're a finalist for Giannis, so this would be a real plan B for them, but a pretty strong package with assets that include control of 7 of their own picks on draft nights, which include swaps, and multiple good young players. Either way, it is going to be an exciting offseason, Cleveland, after a very disappointing end to their season very soon against the Knicks. But there will be people who disagree with me about James Harden, and for those people, there's nothing that I can do, because if you don't believe after watching 17 years of playoff basketball, I don't think he's missed a single playoff in 17 years. And I don't know how many conference finals he's made, 3, right? He did make 1 finals in 2012 when he was coming off the bench, but like, that actually says a lot. If you've made the playoffs every single year, it says so much about how good you are in the regular season and how disappointing you are in the postseason. Just that fact alone. But if people don't believe it, they don't believe it. There's nothing I could do. At first, I had all this research about like all of the playoff series he's ever had and all the disappointment. It's like, dude, I don't need to go over it. Like, he actually played the actual basketball. And if you watch it and you still don't believe it, I'm not going to convince you in a YouTube video, right? But my prediction, don't usually make predictions, but this is coming out before Game 4. I'm say he's going to have between 7 and 9 field goal attempts. And that's like one of the big patterns that I've noticed with him is the way that he disappears is just by deferring. He passes a lot, which is why he has so many turnovers in the big games too. He's looking to pass. He's not looking to score. And you might say, dude, he's 30, what is he, 35, 36 at this point. Not only is Donovan Mitchell the number 1 player, Evan Mobley should be the number 2 player, and James Harden should be the number 3 at the very least, right? So why are you putting so much pressure on him? And the reason is because the team forms itself and its identity and the way they play around a certain type of James Harden in the regular season. That's how they win. That is their identity and how they're supposed to operate in the playoffs. And then all of a sudden, all of that rug gets pulled out from under them in the postseason. So I don't care if he's your number 1, number 2, or number 3 player. He just creates so much of their identity with how they play. It completely changes. So even though he doesn't have the pressure of a number 1, it really hurts the number 1 and number 2 players, Evan Mobley and Donovan Mitchell. And obviously those guys have a ton of blame to go around. And another person who hasn't been great is the coach, Kenny Atkinson. And I did not dunk on him in this video. If you haven't seen the clip, you probably have. He said, yes, we might be down 3-0 in this series, but we are up 2-1 analytically. Which was obviously an incredibly stupid thing to say because analytics are fine, but the purpose of analytics is, what do they mean to you in terms of winning? So that felt like he had the priorities off, right? That's why that felt so weird to us, is because it was a guy telling us, because analytics are supposed to be subservient to winning, right? Like downstream of winning, but he put the analytics over the winning. And you were like, wait, what? That's why it felt so weird. But the reason I didn't dunk on him in this video is he's a smart guy. He's a coach. He's in the locker room. He knows what these players need. And I like him as a coach. And these coaches use the media to send messages to their players all the time. It's happened forever. Phil Jackson was super famous for this. Greg Popovich, whatever. For some reason, Kenny Atkinson thinks this is the message my guys need to hear. They need to hear that their process is correct. We have to keep doing what we're doing, probably with a little more urgency, but that we just need to keep playing our game and it's going to turn around. And he was really clunky in the way that he said it. So I'm just kind of giving him the benefit of the doubt. He did a very similar thing with James Harden earlier in game 1. If you remember the lowlights of James Harden getting blown by Jalen Brunson over and over, and it was clear that the Knicks' game plan, in fact, Mike Brown said, was to pick on James Harden, right? And instead of just not saying anything about James Harden's defense or whatever, he said, no, James Harden is a good defender. And he said that the problem was our help defense didn't help out James and we left him on an island. It was our fault. And it just felt stupid because it's like you're telling us what we're seeing in front of our eyes isn't real. It's that term gaslighting, right? And so Kenny Atkinson hasn't been great either, but overall, I would say for the Cavs that just something is missing. It's like you can't quite put your finger on it. They have the talent and they have the depth. And you're supposed to surround Donovan Mitchell with shooting. Evan Mobley can shoot threes. Sam Merrill, Max Strus, James Harden. Something's just missing. It's very strange, isn't it? Like you can't quite pinpoint it. It's not experience. They've all been to the playoffs. It's not talent. They're all very talented. I can't quite put my finger on. I'm not even going to try and speculate because I don't know what it is. Is it urgency? Is it maturity? I don't know. But it's very strange. And you know that they were desperate when they made the trade for James Harden. The front office knew something was missing and they couldn't quite figure it out. That's why they made that trade. It reminds me of any team 4 years ago, trading for Russell Westbrook. It's a bad sign. 4 years before that, any team trading for Carmelo Anthony, it's a bad sign, right? And once again, if I have to explain that to you with stats and records and history, then you just haven't really been paying attention. I think it's pretty obvious. But the Knicks are great because of the way that they're built. I love how, yes, it's about Jalen Brunson, but you could have a different leading scorer on any given night because of the depth around him. And it's the new way, the new evolution of how rosters are built. It's how these front offices want to operate so that you can't scheme against it so easily. It's like the Thunder, where yes, SGA will be the leading scorer on any given night, probably, but it could be anyone else and you're not going to be super surprised. That's the opposite of what it was back in the day with the old James Harden Rockets teams, right? That old blueprint where it's one guy, he's the big giant star, the sun in the solar system with all the planets just revolving around him. And that blueprint failed and it's falling out of favor. Now in some teams, it's still that way. Giannis and the Bucks. The Lakers to an extent with Luka Doncic, but we'll see. That's not great for the Lakers, but you have no choice but to build around Luka, right? The ideal is to have that depth. But the reason why we still pick the Spurs or the Thunder over the Knicks is that the Spurs and the Thunder also do have that super mega talent guy who on any given night could lay claim to the best player in the whole world. It's the old adage, which team's got the best player in the series? And in both cases, it will be the Spurs and it will be the Thunder over the Knicks, even though the Knicks do have so much going in their favor. The experience, the run that they're on, the momentum, and health. Spurs or OKC is going to be banged up no matter what. So obviously we're all picking the Spurs or OKC, but I hope that I showed in this video at least that we should not underestimate the Knicks, and hopefully Knicks fans don't hate my channel for never talking about them. So please check out this video. Oh, last video, by the way, was about Wemby dominating Chet before they ever get on the court mentally. And I was kind of nervous about making a video in the middle of a series. I'm not nervous about doing this one when the Cavs are up 3-0, but this has played out. And did you guys see the quote from SGA after the game 4 loss, whatever, last night, when SGA was asked, what do you need to do to get Chet going offensively? There's something going on with SGA, dude. Seriously, like the maturity, it's very weird. Not what you want to see from a leader. Would you ever see a leader? It's almost like he's thrown back-to-back teammates under the bus a little bit. I don't know if I'm being too harsh, but do you remember what he said about Isaiah Hardenstein when the reporter asked SGA, hey, how great was Hardenstein's defense on Wemby? And he said, wasn't that great. And then he claimed to not hear her when it was obvious that he could. Did you hear what he said about Chet?
Just what are some things you think you can do to help get Chet a little bit more involved offensively?
Yeah,
That's not good. And if you want a full breakdown of why SGA had that answer, here's how Wemby dominates Chet even before they ever step on the court.